She uploaded a TikTok saying, "Never ignore red flags just because someone loves you," while secretly seeing another guy behind my back. I stayed silent and walked away completely. Months later, her own friends exposed the full story publicly after she tried painting herself as the victim online again. She wanted everyone to see her as the girl who survived red flags. I read that caption at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, standing in my kitchen eating leftover pasta out of the pot. The post had 34,000 likes already. The comments were calling her brave. And I was the red flag. I put the fork down. Didn't text her. Didn't comment. Didn't share my side. Just stood there in that quiet apartment thinking, she has no idea what I already know. That moment right there, that was the beginning of the end. Not for me. For her. Here's what was at stake that night. 2.5 years. A lease we'd almost signed together. A trip to Portugal we'd already put deposits on. Her sister's wedding in October, where I was going to be her date. And a version of myself, a patient, trusting, genuinely devoted version, that I would never be again after what I found out. I didn't realize it then, but the second I saw that TikTok, I was already gone. I just hadn't told her yet. If you enjoy real stories like this, subscribe, because what happened next changed everything for me. Quick background, because it matters just enough. I'm 27. Willow and I had been together for 2 years and 4 months when all of this happened. We met in the city, through mutual friends, at one of those rooftop parties where everyone pretends they're not networking. She was funny, direct, genuinely magnetic. I fell fast. That's all you need to know going in. The first time something fell off was around the 8-month mark. Nothing dramatic. Just a vibe. She started going out more, which was fine. I wasn't the possessive type, but she'd come home in this weird, energized mood that didn't quite match just drinks with the girls. Too bright. Too amused by something she wasn't sharing. I noticed it the way you notice a smell in a room. You can't name it, but it's there. I told myself it was just her being social. She was always more extroverted than me. I leaned into giving her space. I thought that was love. I didn't realize it then, but that space I was giving her, she was filling it with someone else. His name was Knox. I didn't know that yet, but Knox had been in the picture since around the 7th month of our relationship. Not full on anything, at least not at first. Just texting, just catching up. Just one of those situations people tell themselves isn't really a situation. I found out later that Willow had dated Knox briefly, maybe 4 months before she met me. They hadn't ended badly. They just paused, and then apparently picked back up, around month 8, while she was still very much with me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The TikTok went up on a Wednesday night. I found it because her friend Emery tagged her in a comment, and I happened to see it while scrolling. The video was simple. Willow, sitting by a window, soft lighting, no makeup, that intentional, unfiltered look people spend 20 minutes staging. Text on screen, never ignore red flags just because someone loves you. The audio was one of those trending sounds about walking away from toxic situations. Her caption said, "Finally choosing peace. It took too long, but I'm here." And the comments. God, the comments. Queen behavior. The way you glowed up after leaving toxic energy. You deserve someone who actually sees you. She said what she said. 34,000 likes by the time I found it. I read every single comment. Then I set my phone face down on the counter. Then I picked it back up and read them again. Here's what made it land differently than just a breakup post. We hadn't broken up yet. She posted that while we were still together. We'd been having a rough couple of weeks, sure. There was tension. We'd had an argument about her canceling plans last minute. 3 times in 2 weeks, and she'd gotten defensive in a way that felt weirdly disproportionate. But we hadn't talked about ending anything. No, we need to talk. No, I'm not happy. Just silence. And then, a TikTok, telling 34,000 strangers she was finally choosing peace, implying I was the thing she was choosing peace from. I sat with that for about an hour. Then I called Bo. Bo had known me for 12 years. He didn't sugarcoat things. I told him about the post. He was quiet for a second. Then, is it possible she's about to break up with you, and this is how she's softening the public landing? I thought about that. Maybe, I said. Or, he said slowly, she already has something else lined up, and she's building her narrative in advance. I hadn't thought about that. Not yet. What do you mean? I mean, Bo said, some people don't just leave a situation. They make sure they're the hero of the story first. Then they leave. I went quiet. He kept going. Has she mentioned anyone new lately? Anyone she talks about a little too casually? And then something clicked. Knox. She'd mentioned him exactly twice. Once in passing, Knox from my old friend group was at that thing last weekend, random. And once more, a few weeks later, when she'd referenced a meme he'd sent her. Both times I'd barely registered it. Both times I'd responded like a normal, non-jealous partner would. Oh cool. Huh, that's a good meme. I hadn't asked questions. I hadn't pushed. I'd trusted her. And now Beau's words were rearranging the timeline in my head in a way that made my stomach drop. I'll call you tomorrow, I told Beau. Don't do anything stupid tonight, he said. I won't. I lied. I didn't blow up her phone, but I did go looking. Not through her things, I wasn't that guy, but through my own memory. The pattern of canceled plans. The weird energy she'd come home with. The way she'd gotten vaguely irritated at me for asking simple questions. Where are you eating? Who's going? What time are you back? Things that never used to bother her. And one specific night, 3 weeks before the TikTok, she'd left her iPad on the couch, open, while she was in the shower. A message notification popped up. I hadn't read it. I'd looked away immediately because I was the kind of person who believed in privacy. But I remembered now, for the first time, I actually remembered that the preview text I'd accidentally glimpsed before looking away had said, "Tonight was." That was it. Tonight was. I'd looked away before I could see more. I'd assumed it was Emery or one of her other friends. I hadn't mentioned it. I'd let it go completely. Tonight was. Tonight was what, Willow? I didn't sleep much. The next morning she texted me, "Good morning, Whiteheart." Normal. Breezy. Like the TikTok wasn't sitting there with 40,000 likes now. I texted back, "Morning." She didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up. Two people pretending everything was fine. But I had made a decision somewhere in the sleepless hours of that night. I was going to find out the truth before I said a single word. Not because I wanted ammunition, but because I needed to know exactly what reality I was living in before I started responding to it. The truth came from Landon. Landon was in Knox's friend group. He was also, through a chain of mutual connections, loosely connected to my world. We'd met at a thing Beau hosted maybe a year back. Not close, but decent enough that when I texted him, he responded. I kept it simple. I said I had a reason to believe Willow had been spending time with Knox, and I just needed to know if there was something I should know. I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't accusatory. I just said it plainly. He took 6 hours to respond. When he did, it was short. I don't want to be in the middle of this. But I also don't think it's right to let you stay confused about what's been happening. They've been seeing each other since around January. I'm sorry, man. January. It was now the end of March. 3 months. 3 months of tonight was. And Knox from my old friend group. Random, and I'm just going out with the girls. 3 months of me giving her space and trust and the benefit of every doubt, while she was rebuilding something with someone else. 3 months of her planning her exit narrative, building her online persona as a woman choosing peace, while actively choosing something else entirely. I stared at Landon's message for a long time. Then I put my phone in my pocket, and I went for a walk. I walked for about 2 hours. No podcast, no music, just the city and the sound of it, and the cold air and my own thoughts sorting themselves out. By the time I got back to my apartment, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Nothing loud, nothing public, nothing she could screenshot and turn into content. I was going to end it. Quietly. Completely. And I was going to say almost nothing. She came over that Friday. We'd had loose plans already. She showed up in a good mood, brought coffee, acted completely normal. I let her talk for a few minutes. Then I said, "I know about Knox." The mood shift was instant. She went still. Not guilty still. More like, calculating still. "What do you mean?" she said. "I mean, I know you've been seeing him since January." I said. 3 months, give or take. Silence. She set the coffee down. I watched her face run through about 6 different options. Then she landed on something I hadn't expected. "I was going to tell you," she said. When I figured out what I wanted." I just looked at her. "I've been confused," she said. "Things between us have felt." "Don't," I said. "Don't what?" "Don't explain it to me in a way that makes this about something I did wrong." She went quiet. "You posted a TikTok about red flags," I said, "while you were seeing someone behind my back. You built a whole narrative about choosing peace while actively lying to me for 3 months. So whatever version of this conversation you had prepared, I don't need it." She looked like she wanted to argue, but something in the way I said it, calm, final, without any visible emotion, stopped her. "Are you breaking up with me?" she asked. "Yes." Just like that. Just like that. She sat there for another few seconds. I think she expected tears, or anger, or some kind of scene she could later recount as proof that I was unstable or cruel or difficult. I gave her none of that. You should go, I said. And she did. She didn't post anything immediately. 2 days of quiet. I used those 2 days to do what needed doing. Changed my passwords. Had a brief conversation with the landlord about the lease we'd been discussing. Easy enough to step back from since nothing was signed. Texted the Portugal booking company. Partial refund situation, whatever, fine. Told Bo. Told one other friend. And then just went quiet. No subtweets. No vague stories. No TikToks about walking away with my peace. Just silence. The silence lasted exactly 9 days. Then Willow posted again. This one was longer. A Notes app screenshot. The kind people use when they have too much to say for a caption. She talked about grief. About growing apart from someone. About finally being honest with herself about what she needed. She used words like misaligned and emotionally unavailable, and I gave so much of myself and lost who I was in the process. She did not mention Knox. She did not mention the 3 months of overlap. She did not mention the TikTok she'd posted while still with me. She framed it as a mutual, spiritual, sad but necessary parting. And the comments ate it up. This made me cry. Growth looks so good on you. You are so articulate about pain. He didn't deserve you, clearly. I read it once. Closed the app. Didn't respond. Didn't repost. Didn't say a word. I had made myself a rule. She doesn't get a reaction from me. Not now. Not ever. The silence was the point. Here's where it gets interesting. About 6 weeks later, Emery texted me. Emery was Willow's friend. One of the people who'd been in the comments of that first TikTok calling her brave. We weren't close, but we'd always gotten along. The text said, "Hey, I know this is weird, but can we talk?" I almost didn't respond. Then curiosity got the better of me. We grabbed coffee. Emery looked uncomfortable from the moment she sat down. She wrapped both hands around her cup and said, "I want to preface this by saying I was one of the people in those comments. And I feel genuinely terrible about that now." I waited. "A few of us, her close friends, we've started to put things together," Emery said. "Things she told us before the breakup that didn't add up, things we saw, and then some stuff Knox's friends said." She looked at me. She wasn't the victim here, was she? It wasn't quite a question. "No," I said. "She wasn't." Emery exhaled slowly. "She told us you were emotionally cold. That you checked out. That she'd tried everything and you just weren't present." I didn't say anything. "But then we found out about Knox," Emery said. "Not just that they're together now, we knew that, but the timeline. January. While she was still with you. She never told us that part. She let us think she met him after. She let us think you were the problem." Emery paused. "My friend Presley actually confronted her about it. Directly. Asked her point blank, 'Did you start seeing Knox while you were still with him?' And Willow's response was, she stopped. 'What?' I said. She said, 'The heart doesn't follow a clean timeline. A beat.' Presley told her that was a yes," Emery said. And then Willow got upset and said her friends weren't being supportive. I almost laughed. "She's been posting about emotional growth and authenticity for 6 weeks," I said. "I know," Emery said quietly. "We know." I want to be clear about something. I didn't ask Emery to do anything with what she knew. I didn't say, "Please go set the record straight." I didn't want a proxy war. I didn't want internet justice. I just wanted my actual life back, the quiet, private version, and I was getting it, slowly. I thanked Emery for being honest. We finished our coffee. I went home. The thing about people who rewrite their own stories publicly is that eventually the people who were actually there get tired of watching. Presley posted first. She didn't tag Willow. She didn't name names directly. She just posted a long, careful, clearly personal thread on Twitter that started with, "I love my friends, but I don't owe anyone my silence when I've watched them rewrite history in real time." She talked about watching someone she cared about craft a public persona around pain that wasn't accurately sourced. She talked about the January timeline, still without names, but specific enough that anyone who knew. She talked about sitting in the comments of a TikTok calling someone brave when the full story was something else entirely. She ended with, "The internet rewards the person who speaks first, but the people who were there know." And eventually, silence becomes its own kind of statement. Within 24 hours, Emery had liked the thread. 3 other mutual friends had liked the thread. And the comment sections of Willow's most recent posts had shifted, quietly, not explosively, but visibly, from pure support to questions. Wait, what's the real story here? Someone's saying the timeline is different? Why do her own friends seem uncomfortable now? Willow went quiet online for the first time in 2 months. I heard secondhand. Through Bo, who heard through Landon, that she called Presley furious, that there had been a falling out, that Knox had apparently also become aware of how the story had been publicly framed, with him conveniently edited out, and had his own reaction to that. Something about not appreciating being an invisible chapter in someone else's healing narrative. I don't know the details. I didn't ask for them. Here's the part one keep coming back to. The late backstory that reframes everything. After Emery and I had coffee, she told me one more thing. She said that back in January, the same month Knox re-entered the picture, Willow had actually told her she felt like things with me were fine but not exciting. Not bad. Not toxic. Fine. The word people use when they're already looking towards something else and just haven't left yet. She said you were stable and good, but she wondered if she'd outgrown the dynamic. Emery told me. We told her to talk to you about it. She said she would. She never did. So that's the full picture. She felt the relationship was stable, but not thrilling. Instead of having that conversation with me, she let Knox back in. Instead of being honest about what she wanted, she constructed a private exit and a public narrative. She posted about red flags. She posted about choosing peace. She framed herself as a woman escaping something heavy, when the actual story was a woman who couldn't have an uncomfortable conversation and chose dishonesty over directness. And the people closest to her, eventually, slowly, couldn't keep watching her sell that version without something in them resisting it. I went to Portugal anyway. Booked it solo. Late September, not the original dates. 7 days, mostly quiet, lots of walking, some genuinely good food. One evening I sat at a restaurant alone and had the best glass of wine I've ever had in my life. I didn't post about it. Nobody needed to see it. Willow and Knox are still together, as far as I know. I don't check. Her public accounts have been quieter since Presley's thread. A few posts here and there, nothing like the before times. Maybe she found some actual peace. Maybe she's just more careful about the performance now. I genuinely don't know, and I genuinely don't care in the way I used to think I would. Bo asked me once, a few months after everything, if I was angry. Not anymore, I said. Were you ever? I thought about it. Yeah, I said. But not for the reason you'd think. Not about Knox. Not even about the cheating, exactly. Then what? The TikTok, I said. She looked at the camera and talked about red flags and choosing peace and being brave. And I'm standing in my kitchen thinking, I'm the villain in this story. And I hadn't done a single thing wrong. That's what made me angry. Not what she did to us. What she did to the version of me she showed the world. Bo nodded slowly. And now? I shrugged. Now the people who were actually there have told the actual story. And I said nothing. Which means whatever my reputation is, it's real. It's mine. She can't touch it. I don't have a speech about red flags. I don't have a list of lessons. I don't have a thread about what I learned or how I grew or why everything happens for a reason. What I have is this. I was in a relationship with someone who felt something shifting in herself, didn't know how to say it, and decided the kindest exit was a dishonest one dressed up as empowerment. And when I found out, I didn't perform my pain for anyone. I just left. Quietly. Completely. And months later, her own friends, the ones who'd typed queen behavior into those comments, had seen enough of the full picture to know the difference between a woman who survived something hard and a woman who had simply rewritten something ordinary into something heroic. The internet gave her the first chapter. Reality wrote the rest. The last thing I'll say, I was eating dinner alone one night, maybe 4 months after it all ended, and my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. Silence for a second. Then, hey, Willow. I recognized her voice immediately. I waited. I just wanted to say, she started. I know why you're calling, I said. But there's nothing I need from you. I hope things are genuinely good for you. I mean that. Another silence. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I said. And I hung up. Finished my dinner. Didn't think about it again until now. Some endings don't need a scene. They just need to be over.